What says Christmas like a giant cat who eats children who don't get new clothing for Christmas? How about an ogress that punishes children? Let's talk about some of the terrifying creatures that lurk in the Christmas nights. Let's get spooky. Hey everybody, it's your best friend Kenny here, and today we are going to discuss some creatures that are part of Christmas lore that are frankly quite terrifying and disturbing. So let's get down to it. The first, Yule Cat or Yule Cat is part of Icelandic lore. It is a giant, ferocious cat that devours children who don't receive new clothes for Christmas. The Yule Cat is a furry yet chilling addition to Christmas traditions. It is a feline behemoth lurking in the snow with glowing eyes and dark fur. And it's seeking out people who don't get new clothes for Christmas. Yule Cat prowls the countryside. According to the folklore, it is larger than most houses, and it has a ravenous appetite, like most cats. I actually think most cats think that they're Yule Cat, but unlike Santa Claus, who rewards good behavior, the Yule Cat punishes those who don't receive new clothes for Christmas. This tradition probably originated as an incentive for farmers to finish processing wool before the holidays, rewarding workers with new clothes. The Yule Cat is associated with Gryla, who is a child-eating ogress that we will discuss in a little bit. Yule Cat is Gryla's pet, of course, adding to Iceland's rich tradition of terrifying Christmas folklore. The Yule Cat's popularity actually surged in the 20th century thanks to a poem by Johannes Ungutland, and it cemented the cat's place in my Icelandic Christmas traditions. The threat of being eaten by the Yule Cat was used to encourage children to work hard and be obedient. It served as a reminder to finish chores and contribute to the family's well-being. Nowadays, the Yule Cat has become a symbol of the importance of providing for those in need. The tradition of giving new clothes emphasizes the value of charity and helping those less fortunate. You don't want people to get eaten by the Yule Cat, so give them some new clothes. The Yule Cat is featured in many stories, songs, and artwork, and it is a popular motif in Christmas decorations. It's also become a draw for tourists interested in Iceland's unique folklore. People are starting to incorporate the Yule Cat into Christmas events in the United States. And frankly, we need to be doing this. So we need to get better at this. The Yule Cat needs to become part of our traditions in the United States. There have been some modern interpretations of the Yule Cat, portraying it as not necessarily menacing, but playful. Maybe a mischievous cat who enjoys scaring people rather than eating them. Frankly, I'm surprised that in our culture that loves cats as much as it does, that the Yule Cat has not become a more well-known creature. But that's why I'm making this video, is we should all know about the Yule Cat and hopefully spread the lore of the Yule Cat, because really, we all deserve it. Who doesn't love cats? Who doesn't love Christmas? Who doesn't love the idea of a giant cat eating you if you don't get socks and underwear for Christmas? It's also a great way to teach kids. I was like that when I was a kid too. I was like, oh no, not clothes. I hate clothes. Oh no, socks and underwear. I remember when socks and underwear would have been the absolute worst thing I could have possibly gotten for Christmas. And now if I get socks and underwear for a gift, I'm like, oh, great, that's awesome. I'm set. Really, I think the Yule Cat is a great way to sort of teach people, teach children that getting clothes for Christmas is actually a good thing and a nice thing. And, you can get toys and clothes and get a nice balance. And, you can do it under threat of a giant, monstrous cat. Gryla, the Yule Cat's owner, Gryla, is a monstrous ogress who boils naughty children in her cauldron. Like Yule Cat, Gryla is a figure in Icelandic folklore, a giant ogress who lives in the mountains and comes down during Christmas time to snatch naughty children. She is the Icelandic equivalent of the boogeyman or the Krampus. Gryla's origins predate Christianity in Iceland. She's been a part of Icelandic folklore for centuries, first being mentioned in the 13th century. Early on, she wasn't specifically part of Christmas, but simply the dangers of Icelandic winter and its wilderness. However, as Christianity spread to Iceland, she became part of Christmas. Gryla is depicted as a monstrous ogress with a voracious appetite for children. She's said to have 13 tails, goat horns, and a huge nose. She boils naughty children in a pot to make a stew, her favorite meal. I mean, we like soup, right? Soup's big. Stew. I think stew is better than soup. I don't know the people who are really into soup, how they feel about stew, but I kind of feel like that's sort of, if you like soup, you probably like stew, so, we can kind of get that. Gryla lives in a cave in the mountains with her monstrous husband, Lepaluthi. Yeah, I had to Google how to pronounce that because Icelandic spelling and pronunciation is strange. And her loyal, monstrous Yule Cat. Over time, Gryla's legend has evolved, and she's become associated with Christmas and has 13 sons, the Yule Lads. We'll talk about the Yule Lads later. These mischievous lads, each with their own unique personality and prank, visit children in the 13 days leading up to Christmas. As time has gone on, Gryla's role has softened a bit. She's still used to scare children into good behavior, but the emphasis is more on mischief and pranks rather than outright terror. Gryla is still a popular figure in Icelandic Christmas traditions. She is featured in stories, songs, and television shows. And parents use the threat of Gryla to encourage their children to behave during the holiday season. So what's the deal with all of this scary Icelandic stuff? Yule Cat, Gryla. Well, some people believe that Gryla's origins lie in the harsh realities of life in Iceland. The long, dark winters and the dangers of the natural world likely contribute to the creation of this fearsome figure. Some scholars see Gryla as a type of proto-feminist figure. She's a strong, independent woman, and she's not afraid to defy societal norms. Belsnickel. Belsnickel comes from German folklore, and he is a fur-clad, switch-wielding gift-giver who rewards good children and punishes bad ones. Belsnickel comes from the Palatinate region of southwestern Germany, and he is a Christmas gift bringer. His name roughly translates to Nicholas in furs. Belsnickel is typically depicted as a man wearing fur and a mask, and he carries a switch and or a bag of treats. The tradition of Belsnickel is thought to have originated in the Middle Ages, and in those days, Belsnickel was a frightening figure who would visit children on the eve of St. Nicholas Day, or very similar to Krampus, sort of comes from the Krampus tradition. He would ask children if they had been good, and if they had not, he would give them a swat with his switch. However, if they had been good, he would give them treats from his bag. Again, over time, Belsnickel has softened. In many parts of Germany, he is now seen as a benevolent figure who simply gives gifts to children. However, in some parts of the country, he's still a bit of a scary guy. The tradition of Belsnickel was brought to the United States by German immigrants in the 18th century, and it is celebrated in some parts of Pennsylvania and other states with large German populations. In those areas, Belsnickel typically visits children on Christmas Eve. He wears a scary mask and carries a switch, but he also gives out treats to children. Belsnickel is often associated with the companion of St. Nicholas, Knecht Ruprecht, who we will talk about in a little bit. In some parts of Germany, Belsnickel is known as Pelsnickel or Belsnickel. The Belsnickel tradition is similar to a lot of traditions around the world, such as Krampus. You may recall Belsnickel being featured in an episode of The Office. Knecht Ruprecht. Knecht Ruprecht is from German folklore, and he is a sinister servant who accompanies St. Nicholas and carries a bag of ashes to throw in the faces of naughty children. Knecht Ruprecht, whose name translates to Servant Rupert or Farmhand Rupert, accompanies St. Nicholas during his gift-giving journeys. While St. Nicholas is the benevolent bringer of gifts, Knecht Ruprecht, sinister, the punisher of naughty children. Knecht Ruprecht is rooted in paganism, and his origins, therefore, predate Christianity, likely linked to ancient German traditions surrounding the winter solstice and household spirits. He may have been associated with the Wild Hunt, a supernatural procession through the winter sky. With the spread of Christianity, Knecht Ruprecht was absorbed into Christian folklore and became Santa's buddy. He and St. Nicholas are kind of a buddy comedy now. He became a figure who helped St. Nicholas distinguish between the good and the bad children. Knecht Ruprecht is typically depicted as a tall, imposing figure with a dark beard and a stern expression. He often wears furs or a long black coat and carries a sack or a bundle of switches. Lots of switches in these stories. People are cutting switches, right? In some iterations, he has demonic features. Knecht Ruprecht's primary role is as a disciplinarian. He punishes naughty children. He gives them coal, sticks, and stones instead of gifts, and will even administer a swat with his switch. In some versions, he carries a chain or a sack to take particularly bad children away. The specifics of Knecht Ruprecht's appearance and actions vary across different regions of Germany. You'll notice that his story is very similar to Belsnickel or Krampus. And today, Knecht Ruprecht remains a popular figure in German Christmas traditions. He often appears in parades and festivals alongside St. Nicholas, serving as a reminder that good behavior is important, even during the festive season. Knecht Ruprecht is an integral part of German folklore, representing the darker side of Christmas traditions. He serves as a tool for social control, encouraging children to obey their parents and behave properly. He also represents duality of human nature, the contrasting forces of good and evil, light and darkness, kind of like Krampus. It's fascinating that there are so many of these creatures in folklore that are designed to scare people into behaving. And I get it. I get that people want their children to behave. They want people to behave. They want people to be good people. But it's fascinating to me that it's simply not enough to be rewarded for being a good person. You need the other side of it, which is the punishment for being a bad person. And just simply not being rewarded is not enough of a punishment. Simply not getting presents is not enough of a punishment. Perchten. Perchten is a figure in Austrian and German lore. They are masked figures who roam the streets during Christmas, wearing scary masks and ringing noisy bells in order to scare away evil spirits. Perchten are figures from Alpine folklore in Austria and southern Germany. They are associated with the winter solstice and the Christmas season, and are best known for their elaborate costumes and masks and the noisy, boisterous parades in which they appear. The Perchten derived their name from Perchta, a goddess in pre-Christian Alpine paganism. Perchta was associated with winter, the wilderness, and the souls of the dead. She was often depicted as either a beautiful woman in white or a hag with a large single foot. Quite the two options there. She was believed to wander the countryside during the 12 days of Christmas, rewarding the good and punishing the bad. Perchta was also linked to the wild hunt, which, again, is a supernatural procession of spirits and ghostly hunters roaming the winter skies. The Perchten, with their masks and loud bells, are ways to ward off these malevolent forces. The most obvious feature of the Perchten are their intricately carved wooden masks, often depicting animalistic faces with horns, fangs, and grotesque features. These masks are meant to be frightening and represent the wild and untamed aspects of nature. There are two main types of Perchten: Schön Perchten, also known as beautiful Perchten, with attractive masks and costumes, and Schick Perchten, known as ugly Perchten, with terrifying masks and wild behavior. The Schön Perchten bring good luck and blessings, while the Schick Perchten scare away the evil spirits. The Perchten Lauf is a winter solstice ritual, a traditional parade that takes place during the Christmas season. Groups of Perchten, dressed in their costumes and masks, roam the streets, making noises with bells, chains, and whips. Ooh. The purpose of the Perchten Lauf is to drive away the evil spirits of winter and bring good luck for the coming year. The loud noises and the masks are believed to scare away evil influences. Perchten runs are popular in many alpine regions of Austria and Bavaria, and they are a major tourist attraction and way to preserve the traditional folklore. Again, they're parades of the Perchten. The Perchten tradition remains an important part of alpine culture, and the Perchten festivals and runs attract large crowds and significant tourism during the Christmas season. Perchtens are also often associated with Krampus. If you haven't watched my Krampus video, by the way, you should go watch it after you finish watching this video. Again, it's fascinating that in America we have this sort of sanitized version of Christmas where there aren't very many, other than, the threat of getting coal in your stocking. There are very few, if any, scary aspects to Christmas or spooky aspects to Christmas, even though Christmas is still sort of an inherently spooky thing. You'll hear about tales of the ghosts of the Christmas past and stuff like that, but we don't have any actual monsters that we use to sort of threaten children into behaving well during the Christmas season. And I think that sort of tells you that Santa is that powerful, and that you don't when you have like such a benevolent individual such as Santa that wields as much power as he does, he doesn't need these sort of ne'er-do-well, terrifying associates or other types of monsters in order to punish people. The very idea of Santa not coming or Santa giving coal in a stocking is enough. Make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, The Spooky Lawyer. Make sure that you are following me on Blue Sky and TikTok. My username is AKBrews. Follow me on Twitter. My username is AKBrews. If you have any spooky stories, Christmas related or not, send me an email. My email address is thespookylawyer@gmail.com. We're going to keep on with more creepy, disturbing, spooky Christmas videos during the Christmas season, because that's what you're here for. Thank you for watching my video. I appreciate your support. And as always, stay spooky.